YB stays on your neck.
Yo, my dons, make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and obviously hit the bell for notifications. So as you man can see on your screen now, Robert Mccracken has made some very worrying comments. However, listen, you know the YB, he doesn't like to blow his own trumpet too much, but let's call a spade on this one. I did kind of tell you, man, the character of this Don. Yeah? Let's get something straight. Now, actually, I'm going to do a second video where we go into more detail about the whole conspiracy stuff and how this potentially relates to the conspiracy. But just bear this in mind. Let me say this in the first video, which is going to be one of two. But as I said, let me say this. Let me start off as we mean to go on. Let's get something right. When I mentioned the stuff about, oh, this is weird. What character of a man does it take to potentially put one of their fighters in a ring with a known concussion? That was the whole debate. People were telling me, oh, Mccracken, oh, YB, you're talking rubbish. If AJ had been hurt in sparring, there's no way Mccracken would have put him in there. There's no way, it's impossible. Oh, Mccracken's a trainer. He's an all-time great trainer. Even though he only had one fighter who's been any good in Carl Froch, who had sloppy defense and who had naturally great chin and whose technique didn't improve in 10 years. But oh yeah, Mccracken's all-time great, all this kind of business. That's what was being said. My integrity was being questioned. Now it comes to pass that in fact the guy who was questioned by the YB does have questionable ethics. He's now, so when everyone was sitting there saying, oh, I don't know, oh, there's no way Mccracken would put him in there with concussion. Now we know, yeah? Let's get it straight. He admits himself. AJ had a concussion, he knew, and he did nothing about it. So this proves to me it's not the first time. How it flows to me is, AJ had a concussion before the fight. Guess what? Mccracken had no problem putting him in there. He got another concussion in the fight, and guess what? He admits here he had no problem with him fighting. So everyone who was sitting there saying, oh, I'm crazy, I'm the one who's conspiratorial. No, McCracken's the one who's conspiratorial. He's been running a conspiracy to do God knows what to AJ. That's what I'm thinking. Because the bottom line is, anyone who was struggling with the whole, oh yeah, there was no way McCracken would have put him in there with a concussion from sparring that he got 8 days before. You man, you got no argument now, because we know. Never mind having a concussion 8 days before. Having a concussion and having 8 days to recover is a lot better than being concussed in a fight and then still being allowed to be punched in the head. I'd rather be concussed 8 days before and have 8 days of recovery. McCracken knew he was concussed. He was in a fight, by the way, and said, nah, you know what, AJ, I know you better than all the experts do. Go on, lad, get back in there, keep fighting, go on, make us money. This is my money too. I've got a win bonus on the line. That's what he's thinking. Anyway, let's get to what McCracken actually had to say. He says here, I know him better than all these experts who virtually don't know him or have ever met him or have only met him once or twice. Now, before I go on, this just for me sums up, once again, the character of the man we're talking about here. He has supreme ego, supreme arrogance. He believes he knows more than any doctor. He believes he knows more than anyone who've experienced in that particular field. Even though he's a bum boxing trainer, no offense to boxing trainers, but come on, it's like me being a YouTuber and sitting there and saying, oh my, now whilst I have an opinion, I'd never expect someone to take my opinion over someone qualified in that area. Does that make sense? I've got opinion. Listen, it's the YB. You know me. I've got adamant opinions. I would even sit there and argue with a brain doctor on some points if they were going against what I'm saying, as an example. However, that's because I feel strong in my own opinions. I'd never expect a third party, as an example. Let's say me and a brain doctor were arguing about something. I'd never expect him or a third party to side with me. You have your own thing. You have your own business. But this dude here sitting here and saying, "Oh, I know him better than all these experts." Based on what? You don't know him better than Adam. As it happens, because what do we know? It's all well and good sitting there and saying, "Oh, I know him better than all these experts." Well, if you knew him better, why is it AJ didn't recover for 4 rounds? And as it happens, in this particular example of AJ versus Ruiz, where McCracken insists he knows so damn much.
it was indeed the people who don't know AJ, YB, all the experts who were saying he shouldn't be in there with a concussion, who were right, bottom line. Because look how AJ performed. Did AJ perform? Given how much Mccracken knows AJ, you'd think that AJ would have brought it back and carried on fighting or whatever, but clearly he doesn't know AJ. And I'll tell you the key difference here. Mccracken goes on to say, oh, well, AJ's been hurt before and AJ's been concussed before, or AJ's this, all this sort of business, trying to justify what he's done. But in reality, this fight to me proves he doesn't actually know AJ. As an example, have we ever heard AJ in the corner completely confused and disorientated before? That there, for me, was a key. I'm not even a trainer. I don't even know AJ. But that there is a key sign for me. Wait there a minute. AJ's been put down in the Klitschko fight before. AJ's been hurt before in other fights. He's never not known where he is. He's never not known what's going on before. Oh, what's he going to do, coach? That to me was that there was like almost like a, what's the word? Like a red button kind of moment. Beep, beep. It was flashing. Oh, what's he going to do next, coach? What shots are you going to throw? It just seemed like he weren't in reality. So yeah, it's all well and good saying I know him so much, but you clearly don't know him so much. Because it's not as if, oh well, AJ's been hit and he's been disorientated loads of times before. That's not the case at all. This is the first time he's been disorientated. This is the first time when you've told him to do something and he's gone out and done the opposite. Likely because his comprehension had completely been shot as well. This is worry, I'm telling you now. And I've been critical of Mccracken, but this for me is really, it proves to me he hasn't got a clue what he's on about. He's so arrogant. He actually believes he knows more than everyone else. And he believes it above any criticism, any advice. He just sits above it all. Oh, the big I am. Oh, I know any more than any expert. Oh, yes, me, big I am. Even though my fighter got brutalised in a fight. And bearing in mind as well, AJ should have ran through Ruiz. So this, for me, and let's get it right, even before the fight, he weren't looking right, man. He weren't looking right. Not even one bit was AJ looking right. And Mccracken had him in there. Go on, AJ, get in there, lad. Good lad. Yeah, you're concussed again. Don't worry, AJ. And this is the whole thing. This is the problem. You know it's worrying when people like Mccracken, they actually use the fact that AJ's been concussed before as a reason to do it again. So because one awful, potentially egregious decision worked, it's like the whole Povetkin and what other fight was it? The whole Povetkin for, oh, he had the flu. Oh yeah, AJ had the flu. Oh, AJ's been put down in this camp before. Yeah, don't worry. Oh, well, he's got through it before. Does that make sense? You can't. It's worrying when you've got people who because bad decisions because bad decisions led to fruitful results, that then validates the bad decision. Oh, well, he's fought with a concussion before and won. Oh, yeah, it's great. Yeah, he can do it all the time. That is worrying. But once again, it goes down to his arrogance. He believes he knows more than any brain doctor. And not only that he knows more than any brain doctor, as I said before, it's one thing me sitting here and arguing with a brain doctor. I'm not here being responsible for another man's life at the end of the day. Now, if it was me and I was responsible for AJ's life, you best believe I'll be listening to the person who's more qualified. If I'm just sitting on YouTube speculating, that's completely different. Unfortunately for Mccracken, he ain't just a YouTube speculator. He needs to be listening to what people are telling him about, oh, I know better. Oh, I know better. Because clearly you don't know better, because that was the worst AJ I've ever seen in my life about you know better. If you knew better so much, he should have gone in there and completely steamrolled Ruiz, but he didn't, because he was clearly shot to pieces in that fight, one way or the other. Anyway, let me cover what else this goon had to say. So he says, I know him better than all these experts who virtually don't know him or have met him once or twice. I knew he was concussed, and I'm trying to get him through a few more rounds, one at a time, and see where he's at. But he was glazy-eyed from when he got caught with that initial shot in round 3, and he carried that with him up until the end. So that's worrying, man. So you knew, this makes it even worse for me, so you knew he was concussed in round 3. You knew he was glazy-eyed in round 3, and still, after every round of still being glazy-eyed, you kept him in there. And it wasn't as if you can say, well, YB, come on, that's unfair. He did pull him out in the 7th round. Mccracken had no intentions at no point of ever pulling him out there. Even when AJ was dazzled to Kingdom Come and was arguably looking for a way out, in as much as he spit his gum shield out or whatever. Even then, I remember when Kell Brook took a knee, Dominic Ingle threw the towel in. There's signs fighters give when they've had enough, more or less. Mccracken won't having none of it. That was his AJ, his cash cow. You get in there, boy. Keep working, good lad. Yeah, keep fighting. I gotta get this win bonus money. That's what it seems like to me. It's not as if it'd be one thing, yeah. Well, even then, to be fair, Mccracken's in a no win, no fee situation here because, to be honest, look, listen, even in a way, actually, probably would have been better. It would have been better for Mccracken to say, "Oh, I didn't know he was concussed. I didn't know. I just thought he was having a bad day." Or that would have been better. But the fact you actually knew it makes it even worse. You knew and chose to do nothing for 4 rounds. And as I said, it wasn't as if AJ was becoming more coherent. You said it yourself. He was glazy-eyed and delirious throughout, if not increasingly delirious, by the way. Even more confused with every round, and you still kept him in there. And it's, like, as I said, it's not as if you can sit there and say, "Oh well, I didn't know he was concussed. I didn't know he was glazy-eyed. I thought he was all right." You knew full well he was on a downward trajectory and being hit more, and still you thought he was all right. Just keep him in there. I think it's worrying, and I'm sorry there'll be people who always want to support Mccracken, but what's worrying even more so is the fact he's meant to be an experienced guy. This guy's heading Team GB Amateurs. He's meant to be the knowledgeable one. And this is what I've said before. This guy's, what's he done really? What has he done? I'm sorry. Maybe this is me just being a YouTuber who likes to talk a lot. I reckon I could have done a better job with AJ than Mccracken. I'll be honest. I'm sorry, I reckon I could have. If I'd had 10 years with him, I honestly reckon, technically speaking, cardiovascularly speaking, let's get it right. Let's call a spade here. You've had him for 10 years and he still can't do 3 rounds. So from where I'm sitting, I'm thinking, you know what? If you've had him for 10 years and can't do 3 rounds, I'll take my chances. I'm sorry. You can sit there and say, "Oh, YB, you don't know boxing." I'm telling you this for free. Give me 10 years, I bet I can get him to do 4 rounds rather than 3. How about that? And that's where we're at, unfortunately. The bar's so low, anyone with any sort of noddle would struggle to get him in worse shape than Mccracken did. And not only that, even if you want to say, "Oh, well, he wasn't feeling right," well, even more so, he shouldn't have been in there, should he? Because I'm sorry, I'm not buying this, "Oh, he was fine," and nah. Because in fact, never mind what I'm saying, Mccracken's even admitting he was concussed, so you can't even sit there and say, "Oh, he was fine," because you just said yourself, he wasn't. And for me as well, what makes me laugh is, Mccracken says, I think this really does imply something happened before the camp, because Mccracken says, "Oh, yeah, he was concussed in the early rounds." Now, that could be the case, but as I said before, how would Mccracken necessarily know that? You wouldn't necessarily know that on the spot. Meaning, what's more likely, in my opinion, is 8 days before AJ was probably concussed, and they had that confirmed with a doctor. And that's why now Mccracken's coming along and making, "Oh, it was in the fight he got concussed." Because in reality, how would you know? You wouldn't know someone was concussed in a fight. Bearing in mind, Mccracken was only spending 1 minute with AJ in between each round. So to get a diagnosis, I just think it's hard to believe. It implies to me actually that he knew something beforehand. To be that confident in saying, "Oh yeah, within the 1 minute break I spent with AJ, I knew he was concussed." What makes more sense to me is you got an official diagnosis 8 days before he was concussed, and then when you got in there and he started showing dodgy signs, probably thought, "Oh, that's probably the concussion playing up again." That's what makes sense to me, but I'll leave you lot to decide. I'm going to do a second video, as I said, talking about, because Mccracken's now, he's seen all this uproar blow up and he's responded to it. So I'll break down his response in that, but not good, man. Definitely not good. And as I said before I go, actually, let me say this. He's meant to have the wealth of knowledge here. And maybe who am I to say? Who am I to judge? Maybe he should have kept AJ in there fighting. Maybe he should have. Obviously, it's easy for me to sit here on hindsight and say, "Oh, he should have brought him out. Look how bad the fight went." But I'm sorry, man. We've all sat here now and said, "You know what? He probably shouldn't have been in that fight at all." And I just believe these little things, his whole attitude towards concussions, he clearly doesn't respect concussions. Because you've admitted now your fighter was in there with a concussion and you weren't bothered whatsoever. Your fighter was in there completely disorientated and you weren't bothered. He'd been put down 4 times and not once did you think to throw the towel in. All these factors add up to me, and it feels like he doesn't have, whether it's Whether it's not knowing or not, whether he hasn't got the level of education or not, as in, maybe he doesn't know how serious it is. Or maybe he doesn't care. All I know is, when you're at that top level, it's not good enough to not understand. If you don't understand, you need to step down and let someone who does understand step in. Because it's all well and good, it's all fun and games now. We don't know, it doesn't, how many fighters have we seen die recently or be in comas? Look, Adonis Stevenson, the World Championships, it's not even like, oh well, it's all lower level fighters. It's as simple as that. And I'm not being funny, if you go back and watch the Adonis Stevenson fight, he wasn't taking that much more punishment against Wasnt than AJ was against Ruiz in reality, because AJ's guard wasn't there. AJ's defense wasn't there. He was taking all the shots clean. So I'm not being funny. The way that, no word of a lie, go and watch Wasnt versus Adonis Stevenson. Look at that stoppage. You tell me if that stoppage took more damage than AJ did potentially. And that's the bottom line. It's not a simple case of, oh, well, he's all right now. You don't know. You can't pick and choose which one your fighter's going to get. That could have literally been one of them ones. Because I'm not being funny. As I said, they both took a similar amount of unanswered punches. And got put down 4 times. And you knew he was concussed. And he was talking madness in the corner. And he was performing awfully. And you didn't have... I'm sorry, man. Not good enough. But I'll be intrigued to see what you guys think anyway.